you. Okay, we have minutes.
Nope, I wasn't able to get any out to you guys.
Okay. Anticipating a report from Chief Carbone. Yep, come right up, Assistant Chief Warren. Come right up, gentlemen, to the table.
I'll go over the biggest issue that I wanted to discuss is the fleet, which I'll save for last. So I'll give you a rundown of the other.
We may have to speak up today with the AC.
Okay, I'll save the fleet for last. That's the biggest issue. I'll go over some of the other big topics that we have going on right now. The first is that we had 2 resignations. So 2 officers are leaving us to join the Spencer Police Department. One was expected, one was not. However, where that set us back a little bit was we were manning the SRO position by bid. So the day shift officer was going to be assigned to the high school, and that day shift officer is no longer with us. So we have made adjustments and we'll be putting Sergeant Recos temporarily in the SRO position to get it all set up. It actually works out well for us because he can get it set up. He was going to be the supervisor of the position anyway, and then by spring, we'd like to think that we'll have a patrolman ready for that position, and then some formal training in the spring being offered by the state. So it'll work out well. So we have the 2 resignations. We have the hiring process underway, and we should have an answer by Friday as to whether we have those 2 slots filled.
Okay.
And we're looking only for officers with full-time academy training, so that we won't have to send anybody. And it's looking good right now.
Okay.
So we do expect that there's going to be an overtime hit because we've lost 2 people from the schedule. But if we get 2 academy graduates, then other than some field training and picking them up for the last week of the academy so that they graduate as Barry officers, we save a huge expense, and we should be able to get them pretty quickly on the road if it goes as we think it will. So a couple of months where we're going to have some overtime issues, and then we'll be back on track. We have to, we've talked to the officers, we've made scheduling adjustments to try to mitigate the overtime, and I think we have it down to something that's not going to shock us, and we may actually survive this year without it putting us in the red, if all goes according to plan. So those are the better topics. The worst, the situation that faces us of concern is our fleet. We have 6 cars if you include the car that's assigned to me for take-home purposes. That car is now sidelined. I got a quote of anywhere from $500 to $2,000 maybe to fix the transmission, and it's already got a rebuilt transmission and a rebuilt engine. I don't see any reason to put the money into the car, as it has about 150,000 miles. It's a 2008, and the best advice from a mechanic that has been doing work on it for years is don't even risk trying to fix it, because 2000 might not even be what gets us where we need to make it viable. So that's the first problem. The second problem is we have 2 other cars that are starting to cost us, well, they've been costing us a lot of money in repairs because they're also old and dilapidated, basically falling apart under us. That's our Impala and our Crown Vic. They need to be replaced as well. We have 3 vehicles that are viable. We have the Tahoe, we have the new Ford Utility, and we have a Caprice. The problem is that we're playing against time because the Tahoe's got, I think, 65,000 miles on it, and the Caprice has 75,000. You generally get 110,000 miles out of a police car because of the type of use. We're luckier that we can push them a little bit further, because our mechanics do a good job, but we're down to 3 cars, 2 of which really are, the end is really a year or 2 in sight for these cars. If we start running them around the clock because we don't have the other ones, well, then we're just going to hasten their demise. So bringing this to you and telling you that we allotted about $11,000 for vehicle maintenance this year, we've had to spend $4,000 already in the first month and 3 quarters. Sometimes you expect, like a set of tires runs you, you expect brakes, but then on top of that we have the Impala and the Crown Vic eating up a lot of money. and fixing them, whereas if we fix something on the Tahoe, we expect to get our money's worth. Just the Explorer that I was driving, the Crown Vic and the Impala, we don't expect to get our money's worth on fixing it. It's not just throwing bad money after bad money. So my request is that we schedule a meeting, that you ask for a meeting with the Finance Committee, and we discuss what our options are so that we can move forward. I know they're talking about possibly funding one car. I feel that we need to be funded for 2 cars right away, and let the third car be the car that we will be proposing to you as part of the dog program, which would be something we raise by donation. That's where we stand. I know the Deputy Chief has a history with these vehicles and their purchases, so I asked him to be here in case you had any questions about, you know, the fleet history.
Okay. One question is, what's ballpark estimate of the replacement cost?
We allot $40,000 per car.
Okay.
Like, maybe we can get out for a little bit less, but that's upfitting included.
Okay.
Downside with these cars is that every time you replace a car that's of a different model, and we have nothing but different models, you have to buy a completely new set of cage, center console. You can maybe switch some lights, but the light packages that we have, they're at the end of their life as well. You generally expect, I would say 10 years maybe out of a siren and a light bar. You might extend it to 15, and we're pretty much there with our light bars. So we want to see if we could refurbish one and save some money, but somewhere along the line, we'd have to spend on new parts. We'd be about the only thing that we know we can probably move would be grill lights, deck lights, things like that.
That extra outfitting, how much estimate is that?
You
Assuming you got brand new, rather than trying to outfit the old, and then we'll know it's better if we can reuse later.
possibly, if you're good pricing, 10,000 a car, might be a little bit more. One of the problems that we have is you have to get the whole console for the light and siren. You know, we can't reuse that. We have to possibly get new light bars. So I'd say conservatively $10,000 per car. You buy the car just under 30. We won't have any trade-in value.
Oh, so you're saying 40,000 would include that?
Everything.
Oh, I thought we're now 40 plus 10 got you around 50.
No,
Okay.
everything. Again, so what are questions you have with drivers?
One last
Okay,
question,
yeah.
I guess. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Obviously, this takes a little time for decision-making and then final approval, and whoever has that right of approval and all that stuff. What's your estimate of getting by with the Impala and with the Crown Vic? How long do you think you have before you need kind of some type of in other words, we can kind of set a deadline and try to work backwards to figure out if we can make this happen?
Well, we're on borrowed time with both cars. If we have a major failure, we're not going to, it doesn't make any sense to repair it. So we've considered taking them out of patrol rotation and using them for training, details, court runs, something that, so that we don't put them out under stress. So that would mean running a 3-car rotation, and that, as I said earlier, that just shortens the life if we go on too long. So we could get a car, if we got funded, we could get a car on the road 3 to 4 months in purchasing, having it delivered, getting the lights on it, getting it ready to go. We don't, it's anyone's guess. These cars could go at really any time.
The problem we run into, especially with the Impala, is most of these cars are not police packages, so they're just the civilian version. That it was a temporary fix at the time. We were able to get 2 Impalas several years ago for a decent price, but the problem was that they weren't built to police specifications. They were just civilian models that we made work. And at this time, the Impala has given us it's given us more than we would have got out of it.
How many vehicles are normally on the road at a time?
2 or 3. but we can't run around the clock, so there's got to be downtime for a vehicle.
How many, well, run around the clock, I mean, they're not literally being driven for 24 hours.
Well, we
They
have,
drive the clock, that's what I'm
if they're
saying.
out on a detail, then they're idling for the length of the detail. Training, we're sending training to Massachusetts is vast distances you cover, you're sending them for a 2-hour drive. So,
But we could use the other vehicles for that,
well, it's,
that aren't gonna be put under duress to.
for now,
back.
we're gonna try to use those, but even, 2-hour drive in a car that's not in great shape can only go on so long. But, so, a fleet of 5, you always have to figure that one car must be down for whatever's going on, routine maintenance, brakes. A police car generally goes through a radiator and a front end and it's 100,000-mile life. So you figure a car being down, you figure not running around the clock, you figure the training, you figure the details in town. The 6-vehicle fleet is a good number. I'm not asking, for 7. If we get a dog program, one car becomes a specialty car, but I still think, we can get by with 6 even under that. Or less, and then you just don't have enough cars to rotate. We also have the issue about what types of cars, because we need to have patrol cars, but then in the winter, we need to have cars that can handle, a very.
Can you go through the years of all 6 cars for me again, so I can write them down, year and mile in each one?
I'll have to go back and get a different sheet for that. I don't have that with me. I know that the Explorer is a 2008, the Crown Vic, I think, is a 2010.
It was the last year of the Crown Vic.
10 or 11. If you give me a minute, I can go back and pull a file.
Just be curious, but see, try to start a standing where these are and start thinking about more than just right now, but think about rotation on them when they have to go. How many miles you typically run them in a day when they run, for patrol, whatever they do for a day? How many miles we put on a car in a day?
I don't know that we have a typical number,
These would be good things to know, so if we're gonna try to plan out, obviously we've gotta do something about them, but let's stop playing hodgepodge and having different vehicles and whatever the heck they fail. And the same thing should be said for, a lot of the town vehicles. They need to be on a schedule for a life, and budgeting has to start paying attention to that sort of thing. So there's gotta be a hit up front to get a couple vehicles back, I agree. But we gotta be smart about what we do, which one's gonna last us how long,
Right.
and start to look at how many miles a day they do get and get a better anticipation of what kind of life we're gonna get out of this,
Right.
to try to really be mindful, and then get back to our 5-year capital planning to try to fit these in there.
Right, to that end, the 4-wheel drives would be out of, they'd be rotated more in the winter, less in the summer.
Right.
Sedans, something we haven't been able to do, but something that we should do so that we can expect a 4-wheel drive to last us a couple of years longer than we
Right.
expect a patrol sedan. And I think that's a little bit about what you're alluding to.
Right, I mean, if that's 2 of your 6 vehicles, the other 4, like I said, 3 in and 1 out for service, typically is gonna be fine. But we've gotta get in a program where we're changing a vehicle out in a certain timely manner, maybe 1 a year. Every year would work fantastic if we can get to that point, but we have to get there.
I think that's how the capital plan had it outlined, was 1 each year, but I think
But
last year we had
we've
to
gotta get to
skip.
that start point's a problem. That's it, we gotta figure out logically, if we do 2 and then get on to 1 a year, if we can do that. And this is very speculative. We don't have any idea what's coming in from
Well,
free cash in the
yeah.
fall, what else we have to do yet.
I mean, it's all based on appropriation, so I think, at the time, when, 2 years ago, I think we replaced 2 at a time as well, and then we did 1 last year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but we did 2 the year before that, because the cards just weren't there to replace it the year before that, so then we did,
We've always been playing catch up.
we have, yeah.
Like I said, we're gonna have to meet
I
with
think since
finance anyways on it.
2010.
And we're gonna have to meet with finance on it.
Yeah,
and-
we have
and
to
look
take
at
a
that.
look
And it'd be
at the
nice
tech-
to have those numbers for
Yeah.
We have.
the age of the vehicles, the mileage on the vehicles, and then general condition, to see what we're looking with, and so we
General
can all.
usage, we'll have to go looking for the other ones that we actually, have in file. I just didn't
Mhm.
print this page, so.
Okay.
And that's the goal as well is right now we have a mixture of pretty much every different kind of cruiser that you can imagine.
Yeah.
And the goal is to standardize the fleet and have it a mixture of one type of sedan and one type of 4-wheel drive, and that's it. That'll simplify supply and repair costs as well.
Is this, I would assume these typically go out to a state bid, like the DPW trucks?
Not
There's
really.
a certain cruiser you get for every year, or is there?
Yes and no. There is a state bid price, but the dealerships also have a public safety, police service, special service package that they offer. Some different companies call it something different. So special service, I think, is Dodge. That price will beat or match the state bid, but you go directly to the dealer, which is the way we prefer to do it. You go directly to the dealer, you get the same price or a slightly better price, and it's direct to you, and then you upfit it from that point. And some advantages to that are it's slightly less expensive. You are dealing directly with the dealer who's going to maintain it versus a company that fits them sort of a go-between, and they meet the state bid price. And through the dealership, when they do these packages, they offer you almost like trim packages. And so you get some of your equipment up front, so you don't have to pay for it with your upfitter. So it's a system that a lot of departments use. We haven't used it here. We've gone through that third-party outfitter. And the downside with that is you do pay a little bit more at the third-party outfitter. You're always going to make the state bid price. But you also get put at the end of the line when you want your car if you're buying one versus somebody who's buying 10 or 15. So,
Well, bottom line's gonna help with us a lot, so if it's cheaper the other way, you had us right there, so.
I've already met with one dealership, and we looked at their prices, and the prices were better than the price we got from the upfitter. And so we think, we can get it, and we're going to be going to a trade show to look at some options for the four-wheel drive packages, something that can save us money. The idea that a lot of departments run pickup trucks, quads, and they do it well. So we have to look at those packages because they cost significantly less than the SUVs.
And I don't like all-wheel drive cars. They always, to me, seem to be problematic. I don't think it's a viable option. So it's an SUV or pickup. All right, what else?
Only one comment I would say is I think specifically with this one, we should also probably see if some members of the capital planning committee would also want to be present. Because whatever the finance committee and the select board want to do moving forward, it's going to affect how they're trying to plan out stuff. And we've already discussed a potential special town meeting to address some of the free cash items we thought we just couldn't deal with for capital improvements with the last budget. So the more we bring them in early, the more they can have any input, as well as adjust whatever they're putting in their plan. And so I just think it wouldn't hurt to see if they feel like it's worth attending.
Yeah, so the next finances meeting Wednesday, there was a plan about discussion, how going forward we're gonna start meetings. So
Okay.
that night we can discuss with them, maybe setting up like an September, October, large meeting with everybody like that. Capital plan, first meeting with them, and then probably start looking at departments for capital stuff.
And where all three of the various boards can start having like a closer relationship as we work through the next budget season.
Okay, I thought the timing was such, I thought we could do it at the next meeting, the first or either one of the September meetings. I thought we'd agenda an item for setting up a special fall town meeting, and would go from there probably, because it just takes so long with postings and all this other stuff. I thought we'd do it either at the next meeting or the one immediate, the second meeting in September. We could do it the first and then open it up and go from there.
What would be the intention of financing, if setting up special town meeting?
Yeah.
No, what would be the intention? What funding would you be using for special town
Free
meeting?
cash. We tabled a lot of stuff and we had the free cash figure approved before.
So you're saying take it back out of stabilization?
Or this year's free cash if we were lucky.
No, I'm
to
saying
meet
take
by
it
that
back out
time.
of,
Stabilization.
yes,
Okay.
yes, stabilize,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's okay, I was just
I
trying to
meant to
follow.
say,
Yeah.
I should have, yeah, we took it from free cash and put it into stabilization with the idea we'd be pulling some back.
Okay, yeah,
I
okay.
think that was,
Or if we're
I
lucky and
thought
we
we were
get
gonna
free
wait
cash
for this
this
year's
year.
free cash and
Yeah, I
not
thought
pull
we
back.
were
Verified in the
Trying to
timing.
bolster stabilization, and
the stabilization is in good shape, and
it's in decent shape.
it's in very good shape, and trust me, it's in better shape than many, many, many other towns.
Charlie.
Better shape than other towns doesn't mean very
Well.
good shape.
You have
I don't clear
Charlie.
that.
Clarence.
Yep.
What's the money in stabilization right now?
Right now, I couldn't tell you right off the top of my
It's
head.
over 800,000.
Under $1 million.
But I was of the impression from the annual town meeting, because we couldn't carry free cash into
Yeah.
a subsequent year, we put it in there with the idea would be not taking everything that went in at the town meeting, but a portion of it back. And hopefully the free cash will be calculated also at that time, and we'd have more flexibility to deal with the numbers. But we put off a lot of things too, so,
Yeah,
and some of that,
but we had, well, how much had we taken out?
what, since
It was
then?
95,000, and then what was the other figure?
212.
So we had to put back 300,000.
Yeah, we did put back, but there was more going in than was taken out previously, right? We took
That's
out,
what I'm asking, what's the,
Yeah, that's
We can
what-
get the figure.
yeah, we can get the exact figure, but we put in more than was taken out at the town. You know, we had the special town meeting where we did the ladder truck and that stuff. And then when the free cash was certified, we put all of it
yeah,
from the end of the last fiscal year into stabilization. So we put in more than we took out back in April and at the special town meeting.
yeah. But you still don't wanna keep taking stuff out of stabilization.
I know, but we had to put it in.
You have to have, is it 600,000? Is that what we have to?
I thought it was recommended that we
It's-
stayed
there's a
over $1
percentage.
million.
It's
Yeah,
based off a
yeah.
percentage.
If you could find that out, you
We
know,
have
what need to
yeah.
happen.
I'd like to know what it
That's for
should
that
be,
meeting I
let
was
alone
talking
what we
about.
need to have.
Yeah.
I would think it should
Because
be
the
$1
state
million
tells you.
too.
What
But,
need to
you know,
have.
the other side of the coin is if we had that free cash certified further ahead of that town meeting, we would have used some of that at the annual town meeting for capital purchases. So, you know, it's just a matter, we had to put it somewhere, otherwise we wouldn't have had use of it.
Well, we should have free cash coming in a timely manner this fall, shouldn't we?
What?
We should have free cash coming in a timely manner this fall, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
I would think within the next
But
month.
that's
No,
used
no,
for,
submitted
By
within the
November.
next month, if we're lucky.
that's supposed to be
Hopeful by
used for
November.
your June meeting,
yeah.
what you get in the fall. That's how it used to be, but got quite a few years back, we got behind.
Yeah,
And we were spending money before we
I
got.
think we're all, that one we're all set with, I think.
Still-
But anyway, that was my thought. For him.
I've got nothing more on this right now.
Andrew?
No, I will
Hey,
say this
you
for the
will?
I'm all set.
finance.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Have any
appreciate
other
it, sir.
questions for us? or-
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming in, we appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Okay. We'll have a little bit for this at the end also, but there anyone here that wanted to make a comment about anything in general from the town public, or? Okay. We'll have, as we go along, if you do. Yeah, okay. We have our continuation of the poll petition for Adams Road. Andrew, do you have anything else on
I
it?
did not receive anything additional since our
Okay.
last meeting, so it still stands as was discussed.
Okay, I assume they'll be meeting the guy was, the National Grid guy was on vacation, I
Right.
guess. Okay, I
So
assume,
hopefully they'll
Yeah.
meet this week and we'll hear something back before
Okay.
the next meeting.
okay. Okay, we have a continuation on the Corey procedures for everyone involved here in town, and employees and,
Yep, so I provided you with an updated query procedure with some of the language that was discussed at the last meeting, also some comments that I received back from some department heads once I had sent it out to everybody. So I don't know if anybody has had a chance to really review this or provide you there, if you guys want to give me any comment there, that I can go back, make some more adjustments before we make a final vote on it.
I was comfortable with the additional language.
okay. I was comfortable. So what you'd like to do is put this in a
Yeah.
final form, for-
Yeah,
or have us adopt this?
If you guys could adopt it as constituted, I'll put it into the final form. We'll just consider
Okay.
it as passed. Instead of having to just do, put it into, so it looks nice, but all the wording's there.
I make a motion to accept the court of procedure presented here at this meeting, with the revisions to include the requirements which identify when someone needs to be quarried.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we have an update on the town website, which is,
So I provided you basically the information that I've received so far to look at, after it was discussed at the last meeting, as far as what the town's invested into a website at this point. And as you can see, at this point, we're about $500 in. I don't think that that's really, so much of an investment that we can't say that, let's turn around and let's reevaluate, how we go forward. Kind of after looking at what the that proposed website is, I just didn't think there was a lot there. It was a very, it is from the economic standpoint, the maintenance of it was only maybe $25 a year. But I think as far as the usability of it, it provided some options as far as moving things around, but I think that in order to have a website that it works for everyone, it needs to be structured and it needs to be simple to use, that everybody knows when I put in the information here, it's going to show up here, rather than just, whoever can go in and just start moving things around on their page. Everything should be structured the same from page to page to page. That was kind of the difference that I saw between what was, your traditional municipal website and what this website had to offer. My recommendation in moving forward is that we go with the Gov Office proposal, which would basically cost us about $4,000 per year for the next 3 years, being taken out of the IT budget. But I'm willing to hear if you guys have any other opinions on that.
the board members do.
You're leaning towards them just because the startup is zero, because obviously it's only going to take about 5 years for the other ones to
I have
more cost
right.
effective than that one.
I have, I do have previous experience in dealing with GovOffice. They were a vendor in Palmer. I think that they provided a very good platform. The other two, that whether or not we catch up to that amount and then have to redesign and end up spending that one-time cost again, that's a concern. Because if you figure 5 years from now, when you finally catch back up, that's when the website might be out of date again. That's why I just think that the annual cost of the GovOffice platform was the best option for us.
And did you wind up looking at what our $500 investment got us in the other places? You're not even going to look at the package yet?
I did look at it, and I had the person who developed it come in and show me that design and how it kind of worked. It was, there just wasn't a lot there. I mean, there was a few pictures, a couple of established drop downs, but as far as what I see as a good representation of the town, I didn't think it was quite there. I think there was a lot of work to be done.
And to finish buying that was still a couple $1,000.
And the fact too that this has been in the works for a year, at least. The contract was originally signed back in April 2016. To this point, there might have been 3 or 4 photographs that were utilized over maybe 10 different pages. So if I really wanted to go to structure a website as I had emailed you guys kind of like a template of how I saw it being structured. I can't tell you how much longer that's going to take. I know that at least dealing with a company that deals with municipal websites, this is kind of boilerplate for them, where we could get this up and running in 3 months, in 3 months' time, as long as we provide them with the photos and the structure of how we want the website to be set up.
And once it's structured, any department could go in and make their modifications
Yeah.
reasonably easily.
Yeah.
Would this website setup also be good for mobile applications,
Yes.
iPads, all that?
Yes. The mobile application is very simple to use with this one. Very streamlined. Say no problem at all. In my previous municipality that I was in charge of this same project, they were very good to work with and provide a great product.
Okay. Links, forms, things like that are easy
Yes.
to put in, add new ones, take new ones out,
Yep.
old ones out.
And everything is labeled on the left side of the screen under the admin form, so it basically breaks it all down as to how you can put it in, your title, your summary, your main content. It's just all broken down, so that way it might not be the page that you see when you're putting it in, but as you're putting in the information, then you hit submit, and you go to that page, it's all structured perfectly as far as how, so that way it's uniform across every page.
One question I have is in that system the ability to preview the review before you go live?
Yes, yeah, it has an on-off button, and you can always preview that page. You can develop a page completely before you make it visible to the public.
In the majority of the towns have where the public can go in to see the board of selectmen and the minutes of the meetings are there, will that
Yes.
be there?
Yes,
Be there?
currently we actually have My Town Government.
Yeah,
which is
I've gone in there.
Yes, so that currently has the meeting minutes and agendas linked right to this. We'll still keep that platform, it'll just be attached to this, so that way you can just link right off of that. I don't want to make it so foreign to everybody that we're just reinventing the wheel here. I want to incorporate the systems that we already have into it, that this is just a new interface for everyone.
So proposing to take the annual cost out of the IT budget, is that the plan?
Yes.
Hi, Claire. Yep, Claire.
The 4,000, you said a year for 3 years?
Yes.
That's like a maintenance?
Yep, maintenance and hosting. Basically, the contract is for $12,000 for the whole site development spanned over the 3 years.
And then after that, what?
Continuation of the same price.
So then it would be another so
Yep, it
you're
would just
looking at
basically be $4,000.
every year.
Yes, $4,000 for support and maintenance.
Do they have a limit to the pages and changes, or,
No.
you know, if you wanna change it? A lot of companies will only, the size, so big.
You mean as far as how much content we can put in
Yeah.
there? Not so much that we'll ever fill it up. I don't think that we ever ran into an issue.
I worked with websites and
Okay.
did some minor
Yeah.
designing of them and that. And I know sometimes they put a limit on
Mhm.
how much you can have.
The previous municipality I was in, we had the same structure, never came close to maximizing the amount over 5 years. So,
Is this self-hosted or hosted on somebody else's server?
this is hosted on the Gov Office's server, so that's part of the fee cost.
So if we end up having an issue where Gov Office and the town of Barry no longer want to move forward together, do we lose this website?
We would lose the website itself.
With all the content.
With the content, yes.
Is that a question? So Andrew showed me the interface for this Gov Office, and was able to show me the back end on the user end and the front end on the client,
Yeah.
resident end. And I have to say it was very easy to maneuver through. It was very user-friendly on both ends. The website we currently have now, I think it was much like what was the $500 development, user-wise, which wasn't very friendly. So you'll find that a lot of our website currently is so outdated because it's just not user-friendly. And to no one's fault. It was just, it worked at the time. Somebody volunteered their time to create this for us, and it was great, you know, at that moment. But I think now technology has just flown so fast, and people use web and mobile, like you said, so much more that we need to just get that back up to where people are trying to find the information. And I think GovOffice, you know, just nailed that. We looked at a couple other ones, and
Yeah.
I just felt
think
that
virtual,
as a user it was good.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I looked kind of like the virtual town hall platform, I've used that in the past. I don't think that's a very user-friendly platform for us on our side, because they kind of put modules on your computer that you have to kind of drop things into. This is, you know, all cloud-based, very well developed. The Civic Plus, a lot of towns, you know, more wealthy towns have that one, and it shows. You know, it's a very nice interface, but it's very costly. What they provided here for a price was basically their bottom of the barrel price. The price that I provided for the GovOffice is their top tier.
What, if any, would security issues be for the website? Does it have any interaction with our, you know, tax? I would think it does, to a tax collecting, things like that. What sort of break, or does it just link us to a tax site?
All it would do is link. It wouldn't collect any of our financial information or anything like that. Anything that's permit driven, tax driven, it all third parties to what we currently have in place.
When do you believe you would be at a point where this new website would go live if we said, this is a good idea, please start moving forward?
December.
December?
I'd have it launched before 2018.
Because from my point of view, that would be a deadline I don't want sliding, because I feel like we just be repeating ourselves. And
Nope.
so. And
So
again,
if you gave
I'm
me a
not even
dead-
trying to blame
If you gave me a
how it
deadline-
happened. It's
yeah.
just, I'd like to just start fresh if that's what we're gonna do, and say, okay, we're gonna meet this deadline.
If you gave me a deadline at Christmas, I would meet it.
Well, the last one we started looks like in April of 2016. So it's been a year and 3 months and we're not really going, so I think Christmas deadline's tolerable.
So.
I also think that, you know, and not, again, blaming anybody, but we had nobody really chasing that, because, you know, we had Adam, but Adam had other projects that became priority. And so I think now, you know, Andrew is very familiar with this, he's done it already, so I think, you know, we talked about it, and I think this is gonna be, you know, no, I shouldn't say effortless, because it's gonna take time, but, because he's already done this
For us, it
structure.
may be effortless.
The
Someone's
biggest-
gonna do some work.
Right.
The biggest consumption of time when the first time around I had done this was actually getting the pictures to put on the website. So I think, you know, maybe we can try to get as much information as quickly as possible on that end. That's going to really take up a lot of time on this. If we can get some good pictures that we really want to use for it, and I'll even implore the public, if they'd like to submit anything.
Well, we do
that
have some
they think
photographers that,
yeah.
we have some really good photographers
Yeah.
in town.
I mean, really, what captures the essence of Barry? That's what we want to make this this website, something that is a destination, a reason why somebody would want to come here.
I like it and I'd like to get it going. Personally, need any more discussion on it?
I'd make a motion to have Andrew pursue rebuilding or creating a new town website with GovOffice based on the rates presented.
And use the money from IT fund? Should we include that to fund it?
From the IT budget, yes.
Okay, second the motion.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye?
Okay, We have a licensing issue.
All right, so a little bit of an update from the last meeting. We've been looking at ways to make this permit tracking go forward, because we're at the point now with GOTMS that, you know, the building office can no longer even print licenses. And with our license renewals right around the corner, this is something that we really kind of have to pursue. At the last meeting, there was also the concern of whether or not the select board has the authority to raise that the amount to be spent from the revolving fund. We did get the affirmation from the chapter, I can't even think of the chapter off the top of my head, but anyway, the revolving fund chapter, that the select board and finance committee would both have to meet to raise that appropriation. That would be kosher. But looking at what we have for an amount left in our IT budget from FY17, and the fact that we started pursuing this back in FY17, I think our best course of action is to actually use the encumbrance from that account, since we have that quote predated to June, and the money, the total amount has already been encumbered for that budget. So that way we're not impacting. You know, we can pull part of that annual cost out of the revolving, but the one-time startup fees, we can pull that out of FY17, so that way it's not impacting our FY18 budget.
Where did that wind up in FY17? Wouldn't that have been part of the free cash allotments?
So if
was certified
we
at the end of the
hadn't,
year?
if it hadn't been encumbered, it would roll into FY18's free cash.
How was it encumbered?
It was encumbered as unknown as to where it was going to be spent.
So that's my confusion, is how did that make it encumbered?
It was
There was no
No.
vendor or quote assigned to it?
No, I had received a quote in June from this company. When this software company came in, he had sent me a quote out that day. And so I went to Jean and said, you know, am I able to encumber this? And she said, absolutely, because the quote was received in fiscal 17 for the
Okay,
software.
that's what I was,
Yep.
Yeah. So
how does that
that's
affect
pretty much
our
it.
free cash timeline?
It doesn't really affect the free cash timeline. It only affects the fact that that money is not rolling into free cash.
Right.
So
Well, I
since it
just
had
mean
already
that
been-
the
since
treasurer
it-
told
yeah.
me that she submitted all her books to the
We're not
accountant.
we're not talking.
Does she have to redo that?
No.
No, we're not talking about
Well, she would not.
adding another encumbrance. We're talking about using money that had already been encumbered for this
Mhm.
and been worked in.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so the
So the,
Yeah.
The treasurer-
transfer later in this meeting
So
is
basically,
after all encumbrances.
no.
um,
Those
pretty
are
much
different.
what's happening. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they're
Yes,
FY
yes, I'm sorry.
17 transfer funds to balance overages and
yeah, so that's after any
So-
money had been encumbered. I don't
so that's
think any
all I
money
mean,
is
because
being-
we had IT stuff on that, and so you're just saying that,
This doesn't affect any of the interdepartmental, if that's what you're looking for.
yeah. Thought I saw IT anyway, but maybe I didn't, which is even easier. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was reading it based on encumbrance versus actual paid versus, and I wasn't sure how I was reading that.
So basically, you want to burn up the encumbrance, and if there's anything left to pay, we'll take it out of the IT account.
Pretty much.
This year.
The revolving.
The revolving account.
Revolving IT, okay.
Correct.
And that's
well,
up
for
to, that's got the
IT,
10,000
Yeah.
limit on it.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Technology fee is the actual revolving
Right.
account.
It might hit FY18 for like $300 since we're capped at that 10,000. The annual fee in the proposal was like 10,300. I think we were looking to work with
Right.
them a little bit more to bring that number down and kind of cry poor mouth to them to say that we got a $10,000 cap work with us. So.
So if we do as you're proposing, does that keep the revolving fund under the 10,000?
Yes.
Mhm.
So it doesn't require anybody's vote, it's
Yes.
just,
Correct.
Yeah. And so that way, basically, after this meeting, if you guys agree, we could just move forward and get this right in line before permitting season starts.
And I think, you know, like he said, the building department currently can't print permits for anyone.
To start with, who's gonna be using this software?
It's going to be the building inspector's office, your office, and I believe,
I think, well,
the
the
boards and
boards, which is
commissions.
conservation,
Yep.
planning, zoning,
Mhm.
our office, the fire chief was interested, and we included DPW because they can use it for their street openings and those
Mhm.
permits. They have not they didn't come that day to view their software. So we will have training. So I did talk to Shannon and said, you know, if we are able to roll this out, even if they're not ready to come on, that they should just come to the training, at least, and get the training, because there won't be another training. Because training is a $3,000
So
cost.
this will pick up everything, so this will pick up fire inspection fees, burn permits,
It will pick up,
driveway
actually,
fees, just
it could
everything
actually
in
also
town.
pick up the town clerk with her dog licensing. So right now, she's not ready to leave her program, but once we roll it out, she wants to see how it's working. And she has a town clerks meeting coming up. She was gonna talk to the town clerks that are currently using it
Mhm.
to see how they liked it and how it worked. So we can roll out almost every department into this, and there's no additional cost. If we start with 2 departments now and then we have 5 in 6 months, there's no additional cost.
And the new website will presumably give people
Yes.
links to go right to all these
Yep.
things. for the
Yes.
license
Yeah, and
and
in here it
permits.
says, you know, how do I apply for a permit? They'd go in and go right into the software.
Nice.
And they would have the ability to look up permits that are currently active as well, so that way if, somebody has a concern about what's going on in their neighbor's yard, because they might be building something that encroaches on the property line, they can look without having to call the office to see whether or not they've pulled a building permit.
Nice.
And that software also was user-friendly on both ends, because during the tutorial from the gentleman that came from the software, showed us both ends. How to use it as a resident, how to use it as a town employee.
Okay.
Yeah, and it also offered some other good features for, like one thing was DPW could report like potholes or road issues, or maybe other issues that we have. There's like a place that they can report.
Have you talked to any other towns that have used this, or employees for other towns that have
he-
used this?
I believe that the Board of Health
Mhm.
inspector has used this.
Yep.
And it is in Worcester?
Yeah, it is,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if
Worcester
George
is-
Rickard used it.
Yep.
If he's been talked to find out if he's had a,
No, I think Andrea had only talked to Phil Legier, the health agent, because he
Okay.
does a lot of towns,
Yeah.
and he says he liked it. And actually, I, the other night, had the opportunity to see Daryl Sweeney, our electrical inspector. They use this in Gardner,
okay.
and he said that they liked it.
Okay.
Yep, I mean, they ran into a couple of quirks, but he says it's a learning curve, where people are used to ABC, and now it's this, on the inspector's end, he was explaining.
Yeah, I was gonna say, one of the things I had heard about that was, I guess there was a, as you say, learning curve
Mhm.
from how you pull fire inspections
Mhm.
that are building related,
Right.
and it falls under a building permit, but Viewpoint didn't necessarily have a fire classification, so it
Mhm.
always falls under mechanical. And how do you make sure that people know what's what and know when they have a role in it? Because it's
Mhm.
just gonna say mechanical until someone reads it, or,
Yeah. One
it
other.
was just something I had heard, and I haven't lived it, so I'm not saying everything I'm saying is the whole truth, because.
One other feature that we
it's one
liked,
perspective.
not that it affects our office at all, but with the building office is when contractors pull permits right online, it automatically goes to the state website and lets them know that yes, they're all set. So there's no more, right now when they pull permits, Andrea has to go in and look them up, see if they're current. This automatically allows them, if they say they have a license, it checks it on the background.
Okay.
So it's pretty good.
Okay.
So the 3 of us that are ready to go, Mary Ann included, seemed excited to get something rolling.
All right, I guess I would make a motion to pursue the Viewpoint software using the FY17 IT expense total encumbered for this, and then the revolving fund to deal with the annual costs.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Okay. Discussion, further discussion? No, say. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Now we have the industrial tower issues.
So this one's pretty straightforward. Industrial Communications is looking to add Verizon as a carrier on their tower, and statutorily they need your approval.
This is the same tower that had T-Mobile done last year?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept.
Second?
Okay, discussion? Claire?
Is this the one up on Town Farm Road?
I believe it's
Yes.
on Town Farm Road,
Yes.
on that
Okay.
lot we have. I guess you could call it a lot.
Yes. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, call for a vote in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have some wage authorizations.
Actually, I just have one.
Okay.
This is from the fire chief. As you know, sorry, Andrew, do you mind if I just go ahead?
Go
with
ahead.
this?
Yeah.
As you know, the fire chief rolled out, beginning July 1st, some new staffing with EMS and fire departments with the merge. With the merge, he did eliminate some of the EMS structure and just restructuring. So with the new structure, he is asking to appoint an acting EMS coordinator until the job descriptions can be finalized, and then you guys can accept them. And I know that they were working on that the other day. So this wage authorization is just to appoint an acting EMS coordinator, because the structure was taken apart, and this is to get it back.
Is it affecting the wage or just the title?
No wage, just the title.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do you want more? So it's Dennis Hamill, who currently was filling a role within the structure previously. He receives a $2,000 a year stipend to perform whatever duties fall underneath this coordinator.
Okay.
Mhm. Did you want that?
Okay, do I have a motion?
He's got to sign it, right? Yeah, select board chair. I would make a motion to accept the acting position until a further job description can be presented.
Okay, second? Okay. Yeah,
One-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'll wait for discussion and then.
Okay, go ahead.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Can you give us a ballpark when you think that job description would be ready for us? I don't want it to be too long of an acting position.
Probably the job description, I'd imagine if we keep on the same pace, it'll probably be ready for the next meeting, if I was to
Okay.
guess, because we sat down on Wednesday, got about half of them done, so this was one that we hadn't gotten to yet. We had done some of the ones that are more on the EMS side first, and then get into this one.
Working your way up.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was kind of like I believe it was the full-time medic. I mean, I'm just trying to think of the.
I know the chief and Dennis were discussing them this weekend. We had a couple
Yeah.
of calls, and they were going through some of these this weekend, so I know they're still pushing through.
Yeah.
They were doing.
There's some of the requirements that we wanted to
Exactly.
hammer out, so he was gonna talk to us about it.
Yeah, we haven't
Okay.
had full job descriptions for the EMS.
Yeah,
And
so there's a
since
chore involved.
2014, we developed a couple, like the coordinators and those jobs, but all the other, like EMT, basic, and the paramedic ones, just were very outdated.
They were working on
Okay.
descriptions and requirements.
Yeah, so we're gonna
Literally this
restructure the
weekend, so
entire department and get all new job descriptions for everybody, and hopefully you can just pass them all together, so.
Okay. I guess we did our motions.
Okay, any further discussion? I'll call for a vote in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're on to the, back with the public safety building.
No road material bids, I think is next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're right. We went over these at the,
Last week they presented
last
them.
week at the DPW meeting. What is the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to accept the road materials bid results as presented at the DPW commission.
Okay, by the superintendent.
Yes, by the DPW superintendent.
Do I have a second for that?
A second.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we have a request to use town property.
Yep.
We have two of these?
We have two, yep.
Two.
Yes, one visitor, so we can handle it.
Okay. Welcome.
Hello,
Hello.
the town hall, I'd like to, do you need that? Oh. For a women's recovery meeting every Tuesday night. And well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I know that there's a flat fee of $50 to use the town hall, although this is a strictly volunteer donation. I can't tell you how many women will show up at a time, or, you know, when we pass the basket, sometimes they can't give anything. So I did write a letter stating that any monies that we do receive, we would give to the town.
Yeah.
Like we also do at the Barry Senior Center for our women's meeting on Sunday. So, and it would be every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30. Would be very respectful, you'd never know we were there, and I think it would help, you know, women in town and outside.
What sort of things you need? Just some seating or some tables?
Simply a
coffee
table.
pot?
Faye took me around there, and yeah, we do all the work. We set up the table, put the chairs. This particular meeting, we're not serving coffee or anything. It's very geared toward just 1 hour meeting of women's recovery, and then that would be it.
And what time were you thinking?
6:30 to 7:30.
Okay, thank you.
Every Tuesday night. We figured that would be good to stay out away from Friday night with the, you know, things going on in town, or the Saturday night. We already have a couple meetings going on for Alcoholics Anonymous. So.
How long do you expect to do meetings there for? This just open-ended, or are you looking for
Yeah,
a finite time
open-ended.
for now?
Usually when we find a place, until there's, you know, some kind of an issue, then we'll move, but, yeah, typically it's forever.
Okay. I guess there's only two things that I would just want to talk about.
Sure.
One is, and I'm guessing Faye might have some history with this, town hall's not used much on a Tuesday night, right?
It is not.
Okay, so I don't think we're gonna ever have to worry about quote unquote not getting $50 because someone else might want to use it for $50, which, just to put it out there if anybody's wondering. But another thing I would look at, and I mean, sometimes we have, you know, that $50 sometimes is, depending on the season, covering just keeping the place heated.
Right.
But other times it's, do we need to send Tony over there to go clean the place after an event?
Okay.
So in lieu of that, is there something where you guys could kind of make the commitment to make sure you kind of clean up the bathroom out before you leave, or just put the things back where you found them? So it's, like you said, nobody would know you were there. And that's an easier way for us to sit here and say, you know, I don't have a problem recommending waiving the fee if it's really, we're getting you in the door, we're getting you out, but I'm not gonna make an issue for something that I think is a great social service that you do for those that wanna be a part of this. So my recommendation wouldn't necessarily be to ask for the money, but to waive the fee for the purposes that the meeting's intended for, but also just asking you guys to, you know, if you can't give money, maybe you can give the extra 15 minutes after, just to make sure everything's cleaned up before you walk out.
We're very respectful, and Faye had said, you know, watch out for, I'll have people take their shoes off, the women, you know, because of the floors.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
that I don't
Totally,
think
just-
will be an issue. I think
But-
the only concern, like me and you talked about, was just dragging the piles of chairs across the floor.
Oh, yeah, and
That's
that would
the
also,
only
right.
concern, because we did, Heather was able to get the floors refinished a few
Right.
years back. So we've just been vigilant, every group that's been in there as well, just been vigilant on not dragging the piles of chairs. Like, you could
Right.
drag a single chair, but the piles get heavy
The
and
weight
then,
starts to
yeah.
kick in.
So that would be the only thing. The shoes, I don't see that that's an issue, because they're finished hardwood floors.
Right, but
You know,
we're still very respectful.
yeah, I think that just the chairs and tables, just caution dragging heavy stuff around would be the only concern I think the town should have.
And certainly if there's ever any questions, I'm available, my name, my phone number, if you had any questions.
No, we've discussed a similar topic before, and I have, no problem with waiving the fees. If this is, somebody who's wanting to use it for, a function or for meeting or something different, but for events like this, I think waiving the fee, I have no problem with that. And I'd rather see if they have some collections, buy themselves some cookies and coffee for the next meeting rather than give us $10. If we're gonna waive the fee, I'd just rather waive it and let them use their donations to hopefully draw more people to their meetings with flyers or coffee or something to do while they're there, and then proceed that way. And
I would make a motion to accept the request to use town property Tuesday night, 6:30 to 7:30, and waive the fee for this particular group.
I second that motion.
Okay, second, discussion, any further?
I have one question.
Kathy?
In the wintertime fair, who would handle the heat for any organization?
Yeah,
Someone has to go in and turn it on.
well, the thing about it is it's, the group would have to turn it on, because we leave it at a lower rate. I believe it's 50 all the time.
And someone has to shut it off.
Yeah, so that group, well, there's a timer, so it shuts off after 3 hours, I think is how that thermostat is set up. Maybe we could look at updating a thermostat where maybe we could log in or,
Does that building have network?
It does not, but I'm wondering if we could jump off of the libraries.
Well,
I don't know how far that reaches, but in the future, we should look at maybe installing some Wi-Fi, and that way we could get a thermostat that is,
Programmable.
yeah,
Yeah.
programmable.
Or even just put a programmable thermostat in.
There is one there
Something
now.
like
To
this,
this
we
No,
can
there's one
schedule
still.
for Thursday nights to kick on at 5:30 and kick off at 7:15.
And we certainly can shut or turn on anything, because we've done that
Yeah.
at different meetings.
That would be tricky, I mean, because if,
Usually not. You can usually set up.
we have a lot of groups that are in and out of there, so it would require a lot of, I mean, I would have to tell you, come wintertime, it would require somebody going there every day and checking,
So
or
it's-
every week checking the thermostat to make sure it's properly done, but I think,
Does it have a minimal, like an unoccupied set point per se,
I
where
think
we
it's
keep it at 50 and then they
It's
pump?
50 all the time,
Okay.
and you can just tap it up, and I think it stays up for 3 hours. I could be wrong, but, yeah, so I think if your group was gonna use it on a Tuesday, come winter, if it's a really cold day, I just suggest maybe going there.
Oh,
Stop
sure.
in like an hour early, crank it up, and then go back. That's my only thing. I have to say, with the amount of interest we've had with people using the town hall, I wanna first say I think it's great, because it's a beautiful building. And the second part is it's good to have people in there. Because,
If a
as you
pipe
guys
breaks
know,
and there's no one in there,
we lost,
we're.
George Ricker used to every day make a stop to that building and just walk in, check it, whatever. We've lost that.
I was just there yesterday.
Who was, you?
We had a fire alarm there for the
Oh.
electrical fault.
Oh,
in town,
really?
Tripped the panel. So, we had to go back and
So,
reset it.
it's good that we'll have people in and out of the building, for that reason too. And the second floor does have a different lock, because I know there was an issue at one time, there's a sink and stuff up there, and I don't remember whether the sink was clogged and it overflowed, or the pipe broke and I don't remember, so that's up to you guys now, but priorly, they had kept that off limits. It is not very accessible either, so, like handicap accessible or
You're
anything
right.
like that.
But we should really consider putting that on some sort of schedule for someone to look in once a week to walk in.
Well,
or
Tony
every
Mobilio,
couple of
our
days, be
municipal
crazy not
janitor,
to.
he is an excellent asset to the town as well. So when we schedule events, I have a calendar that I share with him. So I punch the events in and I send him notifications, so he knows when people are in and out of there as well. So he does the sweep to let me know
They'll do the
that the
check
group
before
is.
the event and then the cleanup after. or-
Correct.
But that
Yep.
and what I'm thinking is when we do have extreme cold days in the winter, if it's around 30,
Mhm.
not so bad, but if it's gonna drop to 20 degrees, it might be wise to have a daily check of the building
Sure.
just to make sure.
Yep,
It can get costly fast if something breaks in there.
sure.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. I know that you guys were generous in waiving the $50 fee. What's your thoughts on a deposit though? Because if there is damage to the town hall,
Well,
I
we know
don't
where
know what you
Carol
wanna
lives.
do.
No, I'm just.
Oh, my name's Carol, okay.
Oh, did I get you wrong?
Christine.
Christine.
Oh,
That's
So-
okay.
So Christine,
totally
I don't
know
know
that,
if
Christine.
you would
I'm
be
like-
willing
He does it all the
to,
time.
sorry.
If-
I love everybody.
If you wanted to put we
I am
basically
so
have
embarrassed.
take checks and just hold them, they don't get deposited,
Yeah.
we just hold them.
I would have to do that personally.
Mhm. I'm asking the board
Yeah,
more,
it's an
like,
anonymous,
that's just,
I would say that's something to really think about later. I don't think it's something I would want to introduce now. I don't think
I
it's
appreciate that.
necessary.
Yeah.
I've
We
started
have
several
insurance for something
meetings.
major. Hopefully, in situations like this, if something really did happen, we'd be able to work with you and figure out a plan and not have
Okay.
to do something like that. But
I've paid $20 for a key deposit or something, if that's what you'd like to have, or, it's,
Well, we'll just go ahead with the way it is for now.
and it's a good point,
There's a
Faye.
problem.
I
I
just wanted
just
to
think I
bring it
wouldn't
up.
want to bring it up now and try to initiate something right away. I do think we
Right.
should look at it, and if it becomes something, maybe. we look
And
at it
maybe a
big
year from now, the group
picture-wise.
is strong and you have some money in your coffers, and then we could look at something like
We
that.
would love
But-
that. We
but
can revisit it whenever,
let's
really
see how your
appreciate
numbers
it,
do
though.
it, but I don't expect this to be something that will turn out a lot of
Just out
money
of
to.
curiosity, is every group given their own key, or is there a keypad on the door?
no, every group is signed out a key. With the amount of groups right now that we have using it on a more permanent basis, we'll have to order more keys. So we'll just take, those keys come right out of the expense budget for that building.
Yeah.
So,
And we do have a start date for September 6th, if that is permissible.
Okay.
I would be fine with that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
We've gone through that. We're in
Yeah,
the
I know that.
discussion
I
phase.
would call, and we're ready for a vote.
I'm sorry,
That's what I-
Charlie. I
that's what I-
misunderstood what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm off my game today. I
That's all
apologize.
right, we're all.
It's been a long day.
Call
with
for a
eclipse
vote,
and
those in
everything.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Christine.
Coming in.
And I
Thank
apologize.
you,
I,
that's okay, man.
And we have another
What I was
request for
thinking.
the town hall.
Other
We
than they
do.
both have dark hair.
Kathy, right?
I'm
Kathy
sorry?
Inman?
yes.
Yeah.
So Q-Drug, was looking to use the town hall on September 21st, for a recovery celebration and ice cream social. Okay.
Okay,
So it does not conflict with any other, we're gonna have a full schedule here at the town hall soon. Doesn't conflict with anything else going on there.
okay, what is the wishes of the board?
September 21st. What day of the week are we talking?
That's a Thursday?
Thursday?
Yeah,
And
I would just make a motion
Yeah, I
to
don't see any
accept the
reason.
request to use the property.
I'd second the motion.
okay, second, any further discussion? And we thank the Q-Drug for all their work they've been doing, it, trying to work very hard at this. Call for a vote in favor?
Aye.
Right, okay, thank you. And we have a couple of appointments to make.
Hold on, would you guys like to waive the fee for that?
Yeah, that's just a day, 1 day thing for,
It's still a request to use town property, which requires a fee. So if you'd like to waive that before you move on.
what
I make a motion to waive the fee for Q-Drug Use Town Hall on that
21st.
21st of September.
Why not? I'll second that.
Second? Yes. Okay, call for a vote.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to make a motion that we don't consider that any precedent, despite we've done it twice in a row tonight?
Yeah.
Well,
We
it's a
do
case
need to
by
start
case.
paying attention
I
to
always
this
look
a
at
little
depending
bit.
what it's for and what the organization
Yeah,
is.
that's the way
It's, you know, this.
I
some of these
understand it's a
things
little
are-
subjective and somewhat it is the power of the board to
Clear.
make that
You
decision,
can-
but
Record that it isn't setting a precedent.
Yeah.
so that's more, yeah, just.
Yeah.
Well, I think that you guys vote on these requests to use town properties on individual basis.
Mhm.
They individually come in front of you, so I think, you know.
Yeah, I just still would like
If
to
you
put it
just-
in the minutes that we
Yeah.
just weren't, or you can even say Matt Urban requested that this isn't perceived
Well,
as a
that's what it's gonna
precedent.
say.
Because otherwise.
And that's okay.
Okay,
I do understand.
alrighty, and we have the applications to the zoning board and Southbury Common Committee.
Yeah. I have two, so I received from Kathleen Linehan Jensen, I'm sorry if I messed up the name, was looking to be appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, served on several nonprofit boards responsible for budget, personnel, committee oversight, equipment acquisition, negotiated land use with,
Okay.
so it looks like she has some background. So I don't know how you guys.
She live on Union Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I met her. Okay. What would the board?
I would make a motion to accept the appointment, or to appoint Kathleen to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second motion?
Okay, discussion, hearing none, call for a vote, in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
The second one was from Ralph Gendron to be, so Ralph was on the Southbury Common Committee, and it was brought to my attention that maybe last year he hadn't been reappointed, but I'm not sure, so he's looking to be reappointed this year to that committee.
Okay. Does that have a number of, like, positions open, or?
It does, and I guess the position open was the one that he filled before,
Okay.
yeah.
okay. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we reappoint Ralph to the committee.
Okay, a second,
I second that motion.
discussion, hearing none, call for a vote, in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So both of these will be a term of 3 years,
Okay.
okay?
Yep. Okay, now we're up to the departmental transfers here.
All right. So in your packet, you should have all the interdepartmental transfers as requested by the town accountant. And once you approve these, they'll go to the Finance Committee for their approval as well.
Okay. And this is, just so everybody's aware, this is to close out the books for FY17.
This is to close FY17.
Yeah, we're not talking anything in this, I just want to make it very clear, we're not talking anything in this particular fiscal year, FY18, on a departmental transfer from one department to another. None of that taking place. I just want to make that clear. So,
And the Finance Committee will be seeing this Wednesday night.
yeah,
And I have the original, so if you guys sign this, we'll hold that.
okay, yep.
No, I was just curious. Did you see my note? It's just, because you put a lot of
yes.
time in, that's why I was curious.
Yes, so I don't mind talking.
I was like, how did this
I
happen?
don't mind talking out loud about this.
Okay, that's fine. I
yeah,
didn't want it to-
So Matt had asked, two of the positions that I hold, one for the Town Administrative Board of Selectmen and the second for Finance Committee, both were under budget. And that's just due to, the Town Administrator assistant salary is based on 40 hours a week with the unknown amount of hours. So it fluctuates, and I don't think there's many weeks that I really did maximize 40 hours. So that's why there would be,
I just knew in the
Yep.
spring you put in a lot of time,
yeah,
so I
and
wasn't sure if
also,
that ate that up.
Finance Committee clerk, I'm able to utilize some of my office time, which we would just be working on finance stuff, which is part
Mhm.
of just what we're working on. So I don't utilize a lot of the Finance Committee clerk unless I work outside of my regular office hours,
Mm-hmm.
like
Okay.
on Fridays or whenever I do that, or meetings. I make sure that I
Okay.
put in for those meetings specifically, but a lot of the work I'm able to do, you know, when I'm here, so that's why
Alright.
there's sufficient amount in there.
Right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are the wishes of the board? We need a vote on this.
I'd make a motion to accept the transfers, if I'm correct, this,
Okay, do I have a second?
Second the motion, accept the
Okay,
transfers.
discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. In favor? Those
Aye.
in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you.
Who has the regular
I
copy
do,
for our
I'm sorry,
signature?
I'm spacing out over here.
One thing I did discuss, though, a little bit earlier with some members of the Finance Committee is that going into the next year's budget, we'll present what the final allotted amount for each account is going to be when it comes to the
Ups and
budgeting
downs.
side. So it's not just what was approved, it'll be what was actually expended. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So as well as like a final 17, we're gonna add a column which will have actual
Final
spent.
approved budget and the final actual spent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And
And
that
we'll
shows-
probably take prior to the transfers, so that way we have a better handle as far as what was really, you know, a cash cow and what was really in the negative. So,
Okay.
Mhm.
No, nice way of looking at it. Thank you.
Just so you'll be aware, there in that meeting Wednesday, I'm not going to be able to.
I didn't post for select board to attend because the finance
Okay.
committee's just gonna sign this interdepartmental and then talk about what their meeting schedule is going forward.
Okay,
Okay.
So,
And they can be put on the same alert about the police car situation as we were and start to think about it. No need for us
Yeah.
to particularly
yeah, I can let them, I mean, Claire's here, so she can
I'll
update
let
them as
Ted
well.
know.
but-
see what's going on. I mean, it sounds like some of those cars are pretty old. It's sort of like the fire truck situation. They let them go too far till they all start crapping out at once and we're in trouble.
Andrew, have we, I know you've started dealing with like the state deadlines on financials and putting it into a calendar. Have we started building the town budget process?
I've started that draft today.
Okay.
This being a different form of what I'm used to, but it still kind of falls in the same
Yeah.
same timeline. We're going to be discussing that on Wednesday as well,
Okay,
so we come
perfect.
up with a final.
Right, that's what I was
an actual
wondering.
structure.
So that's something you guys will be
But I'll
discussing.
bring I'll bring something to the table for discussion. So.
Okay, thank you.
okay.
And thank you for making the time. It's a little early in the year, I think, for when the call to the finance committee is a little earlier than usual.
No, they usually do the interdepartmental.
Oh, you do
is
this?
typical.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yep.
We're not cutting into their summer. Actually, Ted, the chairman's been calling, asking when we were gonna meet. So he's looking for it.
That's good.
Okay, now we have the community compacts.
Sure.
So effective as of the 15th, the grant program is now open for applications for the Community Compact Cabinet Best Practices Grant. And previously, the town's been awarded grants for a capital improvement plan and a business continuity plan. Both of those appeared that it was FY16 that those were awarded. Now, the town is only eligible if it wasn't awarded a grant in FY17. So it appears, looking back, that we are eligible to apply for this grant. So I kind of looked at, you know, what I've experienced over the last month here and what I think that we should be kind of going forward with. So I gave you guys kind of 4 options that I wanted you guys to discuss and let me know how you would want me to proceed based off of those. And the ones I'm putting forward are either to develop, document, and implement financial policies and practices, review, evaluate financial management structure, create an economic development plan, or engage in an economic development self-assessment. So,
I
open
think
for
very-
discussion.
We just discussed that first one tonight, and I think that's something we really need to look into. Talking about where our reserve levels are, talk about, you know, our leverage overall, you know, how much we can, should borrow, you know, with this, we've heard of what, 12% of our revenues is like a max cap, but where should we be to be healthy in that? I think all those things, understand those are, it'd be a great place to put some concentration and some effort.
Maybe you can tell them, brief them about what Ted and I talked about when we met you about a marketing plan.
Yeah, so they had discussed, you know, possibly looking at at a marketing plan for the town to try to increase the revenues, and that's why I also had put on here about creating an economic development plan. You know, it's kind of like, do we want to look at how we structure our current finances, or do we want to try to see if we can push for that increased, you know, economic value. That's kind of why I'm putting both of those in front of you for consideration. I see both as being extremely valuable to us, but it's kind of dependent on how the board sees is the most important.
I see in 16 there were grants for 2 issues. Can we apply under multiple facets here as well? Because
We can
both of
apply.
those, I mean, obviously, both of those, which one's more important? I
Right.
mean, I'm all for capital development,
Yeah.
but, getting more money in and find a way to get more money till we get under control, how we take
Right.
care of it, and is probably putting the cart before the horse.
Just,
We were talking about getting together with the Collin Institute and seeing, just feeling them out to see what we could do or think about getting them.
yeah, chances are, if this grant's awarded, that's who's going to be contracted to actually do these assessments, is the Collins Center.
Regarding these 4, which one, based on your particular strengths and understanding of government and whatever, would you say you believe you would be stronger at addressing without outside support, such as this grant? And which one do you think would best be used to get the outside support and the others to help you make this?
From my perspective, I would think that our best bet would be to go with the economic development plan, because there are financial policies and practices that have been put together for other towns on this, that are available on the website, that we can, it's basically a lot of the same message that goes to a lot of places. So we can use that same message to kind of maybe develop our own until, 2 years from now, we go for it, go for another grant. But I think the economic development plan kind of sets a groundwork that we can kind of try to push for future economic development.
Okay.
Now, the question I would have on changing the focus from where we've been in the past to that, aren't there other programs that we could tap into to create the economic development program?
We could go through CMRPC.
Yeah.
They're a great asset for doing that kind of stuff. Even the financial policies and practices, Division of Local Services could probably work with us directly on those kinds of things. And the resources are out there to kind of address each one of those. It's just kind of like, all right, we have this tool in front of us. What foot do we want to step forward with first?
And once again, do we have to pick one to put to the grant? Because
I
it's
would
like
I would
said, the
apply
grants
for
were-
both, but I would like to prefer one
Primary.
above the. I'd like to have a 1 and a 2, so that way, if they come back and they say, we'll give you one, but we won't give you both, I at least know which one to go with.
Okay. I know that my preference is create the economic development plan as the primary. Partly because that's kind of been the message I've been saying for about a year about developing a town plan, and they're all parts and pieces to this. And I think it really will help whoever's here after any one of us no longer is sitting in a position. It's a thing to keep building on, where I think policies change with laws. So you'll build your financial policy, but in 3 years, you're gonna have to find the right clauses and rewrite them based on however they rewrite the law. So that's an ongoing, like a living document, where kind of a plan isn't supposed to be revised too often. I mean, you gotta revise it, but you don't want, it's not really a plan if you revisit it every year and change it. That's my thoughts, and I think it helps with, again, the other part was reaching out and getting all of our private entities in town and the town working together and moving forward in that way. And I think we got the ball rolling, and I think it would be a good way to keep it going.
Yep.
CMRPC is currently working with the business community of Barry, I think is what it's
Yep.
being
And I'd
called
like to
right
work
now.
with them too. I don't think that they've had a meeting since I've started yet, so.
No, I think the next one's coming up in September, but,
Okay.
Mhm.
Be planning on attending that, hopefully.
yeah,
build
and they
some
had
of
a couple
those
good ideas
connections.
going on that it'll be great when they can, whatever
Roll it
support
out.
we can provide. I know I can't speak for the board when I speak to them, so I don't try to, but I speak my mind and how I would represent myself on the board. But they're a good group, and I think they got good intentions in
Okay.
place.
I kind of look at it a little differently, basically the same, but it's different. I like what the, you know, the previous plan that was done, and coming up with the long-term plan, keeping up on it, the financial management. And one reason I say it is I think that there's a lot less help available in that area from the outside than there is on the other. There's more economic development. I like the plan that was presented. I don't know if it'd be the same group, but I like what they did, and it helps us keep up to date. And I think, you know, we've talked about the use of free cash and things of that nature, and, you know, come up with a, you know, kind of a standard procedure to deal with that. It is somewhat arbitrary because boards change and finance committees change, but I think overall the town hasn't changed in all my years of service. Everybody's pretty careful. And, you know, I would like to see that aspect of it. And mainly because I think there's more help in the other areas. And I see maybe some of these type of programs, the financial management programs and structures, could possibly get cut back as the money goes, you know, money goes out of some of these things. But I think the push will be on for economic development anyway. And, you know, and I want to see a CDC established and some of those things. And there might be another vehicle to use. That's the only reason I say, but whether you know, if the board wants to have the economic development first, that's fine. That's just the way I look at it. I like that long-term plan. I like the way the committee did it, the way they handled the public, and, you know, we got another year to do, and I just liked handling it. You know, it made everybody sit through an exercise that, you know, what do you need, and what's this a higher, greater need now versus 2 years down the road. I like that sort of thing.
One of the advantages to the financial policies, that they'll look and they'll say, what, you know, say like with the municipal modernization, what are some things that the town still needs to actually take action on? I know that at least looking through a couple of towns, they had identified that each town needed to take a new vote on establishing the OPEB trust, just based off the way that the Municipal Modernization Act was written, that it needs to be reauthorized. That's just one thing. They could pull one or two other things through that vehicle, as far as saying, all right, we noticed that you're missing this vote for, you know, a health insurance authorization, just to throw something out there, but
I gotcha.
it's good in that aspect.
Yeah, follow you there.
Do you need a vote on this, or?
I don't necessarily need a vote. I just kind of wanted to know where your thoughts were at before I put something
Okay.
together
Greg?
to the state.
Greg, did you have anything you wanted to?
Well, like I said, the developing the documents, position, the financial policies practices, including, as it says, you know, capital financing, use of free cash, identifying where our reserve level should be. This is exactly what we talked about here tonight, but I'm not convinced that those things aren't pretty readily available if we want to look into them on our own without
Yeah.
having somebody else do it for us. So to that end, my second was exactly as Matthew said. I'm looking for ways to, you know, raise funds in town and bring business into town. So I would lean towards, I think, agreeing with Matt that the economic development plan is probably something we need to get rolling on if we're gonna move it. And you know, I believe we can look into the other documentation and get a healthy idea of where we should be on our levels in the my impression was stabilization should be more like $1 million, $1.2 million, and maybe I'm out of line on that. But, you know, those things we can discover, I think, on our own. I'm not as concerned about really if we get a grant to help us. Let's face it, you know, trying to bring big business in, none of us have that experience. Trying to develop business. I mean, we could use some outside perspective.
Yeah, we could, but, yeah, I agree. They're all good, but.
Right, oh, they are, but those two struck me in the first place, so I would lean towards that as a recommendation first, my opinion.
What I will do is forward you guys some economic development policy, or not the financial policies from other towns that are similar to us, just to kind of get a feel as far as, you know, what you guys might see as stuff we're lacking. Maybe we can put together our own financial policies without having to go through.
Right, I'd like to see a policy of it. It's our policy to try to keep our reserves in this range. You know, and it's a policy to keep our debt in a certain percentage. We've already said we got to cap it at 12, but maybe we should keep it at 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd like to try to come up with something that's healthy. We all know as we extend too much in debt and, you know, leverage ourselves up with homes or cars or everything else, when you're taking too much of your daily check down and trying to live off a smaller balance, you really press yourself, and I don't want to press the whole town that way.
Right.
I think, you know, we've stepped in at a time when it's been tough, money's been low, and the account's been hit. And, you know, we've got a task to try to, you know, dig out of this a little bit.
I agree.
I think, as my comment about the tax last time, there was an idea of trying to raise funds, something to bring funds and something
How can we do it, right?
Yep. Don't close any doors and look at what we can do. I think that would be helpful.
Right.
Okay. You've got somewhat of an idea?
I do, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And I'll keep you guys updated as far as how that goes.
Thank you. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, we have a discharge of mortgage.
Yep, so we received a request from lawyer's office to discharge. So this is, again, one of those old CDBG grants. I don't know, Greg, are you familiar with this? I can kind of brief you. So many, many years ago, probably in early 1990s, there was some CDBG grants for the town. And the town basically gave people loans to do betterments, whether it was attached to the sewer. Most of them, that's how they were. They were septic betterments. So people had taken out loans. They had to qualify under certain, restrictions, whether they low income, elderly, so on and so forth. And after 15 years, these mortgages, so to speak, or promissory notes are to be excused, whether or not they were paid back or not. And it usually only comes up at times of transfer.
Yeah. The stipulation on these is that the homeowner had to actually keep the home for the next 15 years. So if there was a transfer of property within that 15 years, they would have had to pay back the full balance as part of the agreement. So it was kind of like a economic incentive to get people to stay in their homes and invest in them. So.
Yeah, and CDBG, if you're wondering, Community Development Block Grant. And back in the 80s, when the sewer plant was initially built, we had a series of grants. And CDBG is a pass-through program. It's federal money that the state administers, and the block grants. And up until the mid-90s or early 90s, I guess, once we got done the sewer, we were applying for housing rehab and things of that nature, plus town capital things that would benefit certain areas of the town. It's income eligible, and we did the senior center on a block grant and things of that nature. We shifted from the housing rehab aspects of it over to more capital type things for the town. A few years back, the water system in South Barry was started on the CDBG grant, and it took to improve the water lines from down by the post office up the hill through High Plains, and it's not completed, and that was a 3-phase project. So I've been spoken with Andrew about maybe applying for another one to continue that project. We shifted over from the housing rehab to doing things of that nature that would has to be income eligible neighborhoods or something. But
Yeah, back in the early 90s, I lived in Haverhill, and I believe they're doing similar grants. They had some
Yeah.
troubled neighborhoods they were trying to revamp and get rid of strict rental properties and get people to own the rentals and
Yeah.
occupy part of it. And they did similar grants to purchase and rehab homes. They were forgiven after a term of years if they stayed occupying the homes, which made them owner-occupied. So yeah, I am familiar with the
Yeah,
program. as
so
far
that's
as
the
that
same
goes.
idea. These people just have to maintain whatever
Right.
qualifications they had at that time.
Yep.
Which almost
And it's
every one
really
of them
not
that
our money, it
comes-
was grant money that we gave to them.
Correct. So
And-
almost all of these come before us that way.
Okay.
Jim Baird and I, just for you guys'
And
knowledge.
the other thing is if they have to pay back some of that money early, it would go into a fund. It could either be administered out for the similar purpose. And I believe at the time, and I think this is still the case, we would hold that money and like say for a project like in South Barry, we have to have all of the engineering done before we apply for any. They gotta know what it's going, even for the state this makes sense. I mean, they gotta figure out what it's gonna cost. But, so the engineering has to be done, and I think that those funds are an eligible use for doing engineering and that type of thing. We shifted from the individual property owner to something like that.
So this is just a straight discharge, this isn't a payback, this is...
This is a
Yeah.
straight discharge, yes.
Yeah.
So Jim Baird and I are currently working on, almost like a sign-off from these applicants, basically saying, yes, I still am, as the promissory note, states, whether it be, income eligible, elderly, have remained in the homes for so many years. Because at this time, we just have these lawyers' offices that are doing these deed transfers saying, we need to do this, they qualify
Right.
underneath it. So just to have it a little more formal, we're gonna work on having a sign-off sheet from the homeowner or the estate owners, because sometimes we run into where it's the estate of that person is handling the transfer now, so. But for now, we're gonna carry on with the mortgage discharge as we have in the past.
Now, are you gonna have a standard procedure on subordinations and?
Yeah, well, like Jim Baird and I work on each one that we get.
Yep.
But yeah, they'll be probably standard for a lot of these that fall under the same category.
Okay, the
Yep.
subordination, okay. I just wanted to explain how it,
So with this,
Okay.
Work.
I ask that you guys sign the discharge. I'll notarize it. It's up to the homeowner to record it with the registry of deeds.
I just wanted to, we had a shift on it and, like the South Barry Water Project. It extends our highway monies and everything else because the road gets
But it's
rebuilt.
still community development, it certainly
Yeah.
is beneficial to
Right.
the people in South Barry.
Okay.
So it sounds like a reasonable way to use funds down
Yeah,
there.
it seems like a good thing. I just wanted,
Make a motion to approve the requested discharge of mortgage
201 Summer Street.
for 201 Summer Street, Barry, Massachusetts.
I second the motion.
okay, any further discussion? I was actually on the board when we did these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then
Oh,
That was-
good.
What?
So you should be able to go through them and figure them all out then.
That's why I was,
Open mouth,
anyway,
sir.
we'll keep moving here, but but I just thought I'd make that, yeah, when they were first in
Full circle.
87, I
Give
Good,
you
think.
a
because we have
promissory
a
note?
box of them that need to be researched.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's why I questioned the
Call.
subordinations. We always had problems with that. Okay, hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
I,
I must be getting old here.
well, Matt's already signed it, so.
What?
Matt's already signed it, so he's voting.
I hope I had a feel for the table.
I think you did.
Not to make Claire feel old, but you were with us at that time. Okay. Okay, we have the Chapter 90 projects.
Right, so that's gonna be basically what was discussed at the previous meeting. I hadn't gotten those in digital form from Jason yet, so up to you if you wanna take them on.
He
You
dropped them off late today.
Oh, he did? Okay,
Yep.
all right, I did not see them, so
Yep.
I don't know if you wanna just pass those along.
Yep. I
Like
don't,
the
do you know what these
vehicles,
are?
the roads, and all of
Yeah, I
that?
just had, I hadn't written down what he had stated at the DPW meeting, but it's what he had outlined.
It looks like there's Walnut Hill Road, Sunrise Ave, School Street North, and James Street.
Sounds right. Yep.
So.
And the vehicles aren't in there too? We had a couple of vehicles I thought were part of that.
He discussed that, but yeah, apparently this is just for the resurfacing work. Not all of the chapter 90, but just the road work itself.
Yeah, 'cause they had to get moving on those. We're getting,
So you
getting
guys
short
need-
on days to get those done.
You guys need to sign on the green ones, and Charlie has to sign on the yellow. So all of you guys sign on the back, and then Charlie signs as well on the front.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we do that on, because the board voted last fall to deal with that issue on Stetson Road, the short stretch, or 300, 200 feet or whatever it was. So, I assume we'd be using chapter 90.
I don't see that request there.
I know it's not there.
Something was brought up at the meeting last week about that.
Yeah, I mentioned it last week.
I believe that it was gonna require additional engineering, was what it was.
It does? I thought
I
it would
believe
get
that's
them-
what was that was
I think it was
discussed.
something like that, because
Yeah.
this isn't just the dirt road part, right? This was
Yeah, this is
a little
just-
of both.
Just the dirt from the dirt road, just up about 300.
Yeah, we had a discussion because the police were asking about us
With
finishing
paving the
that
whole
up.
road.
Right, because.
Yeah,
because
that
it's-
would require engineering.
Because that's,
I'm talking a little stretch.
Oh,
no,
okay.
but they were talking about doing the whole thing at that point, because
Yeah,
it's
but-
gonna be a through for them on a regular basis.
Right,
And I remember
okay,
my
that was the
concern-
discussion of
my
the
concern
short
of-
portion you're talking about versus do we
My
just do it
concern
all
of
at
traffic
once?
flow down there, and
And it'll be the cut through that,
you said all the speed bumps will slow them down, and.
yeah, I said make sure you get the speed bumps and dips involved.
But
That's-
yeah, it
that's the
wasn't part-
engineering
It
part.
wasn't part of it yet,
Yeah.
but.
We'll pave it, but make it just as bumpy.
One of the years, you gotta do town farm road.
Sorry, I'm all set.
Okay.
I would make a motion to accept these. I know that Jason was talking about some remaining balance from previous years that may still be able to address your question at Stetson.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Okay. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote in favor?
All right?
All right.
Okay. Is there any other regular
You get to
business?
sign twice, yellow and green.
Now, if we don't get 3 more 12-inch rainstorms, they can move forward with this stuff.
Hmm?
If we don't get any more of these heavy rainstorms wrecking roads and
Well, we don't get what
washouts,
they
we'll
got down
move
in Cape
forward.
Cod last weekend.
They got 7 inches that one storm one day.
What, a couple hours? Where am I
Mhm.
signing? You know, authorized to-
Both, green
In the
and
back
yellow.
and then up in front, the yellow for you. You get to do it twice.
Okay, does the board have any report or,
And bottom right of the front.
oh, duly authorized?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have nothing special to report, other than just kind of, it fell on the whole community compact thing we were discussing, as I had just had some brief discussions with Andrew in that same line. We got that email from the gentleman from town that was talking about coordinating like bigger picture town-wide event when some of the bigger events at Carter Stevens
Yeah.
occurs, and how can we maybe make that more of a group effort, like,
Yeah. I
and,
know,
so I just, tying on to that, and then the economic development plan and creating partnerships with the different business communities sounded like a good direction to start.
Oh, no, no,
So, other than that, I have nothing. It was
I'll-
just still just ongoing, nothing really happening, it was just more talk.
no. Okay. Do you have any?
Something we discussed in executive session, so I've been updated.
Okay.
I can just shoot you guys a general email for an update on that
Yeah.
without.
Yeah, send it-
Carol, we.
Yeah,
If
you
you're,
should
if you're
probably
concerned,
send
send
it
it to Andrew, and he can decide if
I
it's
can send it to Andrew. and
safe to
he can
pass
update you
outside of an
guys.
open meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, send it.
It was not,
Yeah, we did get one update though from you about some of that.
right. Yeah, it has to do with that.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, he's got-
4 total, so
Okay.
you get to sign 8 times.
I'll go to jail for you.
Thank you.
I'll get new skills.
I'll write letters.
Okay. And go to law school.
Thank you for taking the fall, Charlie. I mean, you're such a good guy. I hope things are doing well.
Andrew, do you have anything you want to?
So, the public safety building, hopefully by tomorrow, we should have the ability to get a certificate of occupancy on it. But the bigger issue that's still holding up the actual physical, occupation of the building has been the charter issue. And I've talked with multiple different people on this. Today I've got a call from a Myron West from Charter, who must be a liaison to the state representative's office. But from his perspective, it seemed that there might have been some miscommunication as to whether or not this was a coax install or a fiber install, and that's whether or not it's just what was in front of him. So he's supposed to be looking into the scheduling of the fiber installation into the building and getting back to me in a timely manner as far as when that is on the schedule. Because he had asked me if we had a job number assigned to it, which I don't have. Whether or not that was given,
If he had one?
it might have been given to him, but I haven't received any additional update. Any communication that I've been copied on relative to this has not had any job numbers attached, and that's including any communication with any charter representatives. So, Mr. West is supposed to be looking into status of scheduling, and as soon as I hear something, I'll let you guys know. So that's where that stands.
Okay.
We posted a couple of vacancies this week. The assistant chief water operator position, which was vacated by the appointment of the chief water operator. We created the job description for the fire inspector. I should have brought that to your attention for this meeting, but I will for the next one for the official acceptance of the job description. But that position has been posted pending acceptance of the job description. Also, the 2 police officer positions have been posted. As you got from the update today from the chief. Also, today I got a letter of resignation from Susan Collette from the Finance Committee. So we have a opening on that position. If there's anybody out there that wishes to serve, we'll be accepting applications.
Okay. Please note that we have an open position on the Finance Committee again.
Okay.
That's all I have.
That's all you have?
Yep.
Okay.
We're still at 6 though.
Babe, you got anything else? for me?
I just have one correspondence that we received.
Okay.
So we received correspondence from a woman named Karen Chapdelaine, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. And she is asking the town to consider a request. She would like, her family would like to donate some land to the town of Barry. She said her sister and her have owned and paid taxes on since 1990. Last year they spoke with the town clerk building inspector regarding this location, and we wished to sell the property. We were unsuccessful locating said property. Sister and I are both in our 70s, have no intention of doing anything with the property, and do not want to further be burdened with the taxes. They would appreciate if bring this to town council and to be discussed at the next meeting. The property is located on Cole Road.
Okay.
And it's parcel D2, so just
Do you have an
correspondence.
actual street number address?
Mm-mm.
No, there's no building until you get way down towards the end of Pole Road. You can't, well, you can drive through it, just barely. But,
Do you remember a while back, a gentleman came in about obtaining cable internet?
Yeah.
He is on Cole Road.
Okay.
Cole
One end
Place
of
Road,
Cole
I think it's
Road
called, right?
is, it goes from Cutler Road and eventually extends over to Jewett Road. And there's a spur off it that goes back out to Jewett Road called Cole Place.
Okay.
And,
So that's the general neighborhood there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can, what I'll do is we'll send this out to town council,
Yep,
and then you guys can take action on it in the future, if you so choose.
okay.
That's
Do we know
all.
how much is involved?
Um,
There's a lot of land out on that road.
Not really sure.
Okay.
Could you see if we could get the information the assessors have on the property that is referenced?
Yeah,
and
there's
just
a deed
email
here.
us some stuff on that?
I mean, there's a deed for it, but
Mhm.
it doesn't state how much
Mhm.
land we're talking about.
That's okay.
Yeah, if they could send us the assessor's map, it'd just be nice to at least have a visual. And again, not a rush, obviously, but preferably before Jim makes a decision on what's right and wrong about it.
Okay, any other, you all set then?
I'm all set.
Anybody else have anything they wish to bring forward? Hearing none, I'll look for the appropriate motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
And next,
Second?
yes, okay, fine, but just before we leave, I want to make certain that next meeting will be on a Tuesday night.
Oh, right after Labor Day.
Labor Day is the first Monday, so it will be the day
September 5th.
Tuesday, September
after, whatever, the 5th.
5th.
Yep.
Yeah.
I may
I'll
not make that.
have to mention that.
Okay, if you can confirm whether or not, and just send an email, that'd be great.
I'll know closer out, but I may not make.
Okay, very good, thank you.
It's your time to sneak stuff by me.
Hey, we can go home and watch.
That's what I was thinking, but.
We didn't vote till
And the
leave.
Barry Gazette.
Well,